All right, let's dive into a pretty wild digital detective story that cybersecurity researchers have been piecing together. This is a story all about stealth, geopolitics, and a brand new, very nasty piece of malware that's fueling a sophisticated espionage campaign across the Middle East. Okay, so this looks like something straight out of a spy movie, right? But this isn't fiction. This is the real deal. This is the exact title of a document used as bait, a lure specifically designed to trick high-level government and diplomatic targets into clicking. And in that one single moment, they open the door to a full-blown digital invasion. So let's set the scene here. We're looking at a pretty long-running, really stealthy espionage campaign that has one clear mission: collecting intelligence. But what's really fascinating is who they're going after. At first, the attackers were really focused on a tight-knit group. The Palestinian Authority, Egypt, Jordan. But lately, they've cast a much wider net. Now we're seeing attacks targeting places like Oman and Morocco. But even with this expansion, the baits, the lore, it's always the same. These politically charged documents about Middle Eastern affairs. Every good spy story has its secret weapon. Well, in this digital campaign, the weapon of choice is a totally new, custom-built malware suite. And researchers have given it a name: AshTag. So what exactly is AshTag? This isn't some virus you can just buy off the shelf. No, this is a modular tool set written in .NET and built for one thing and one thing only: espionage. You can think of it like a digital Swiss Army knife for spies, built from the ground up to stay hidden and give the attackers total control. And wow, just look at how versatile that knife is. AshTag can manage processes, take screenshots, explore and steal files, and even fingerprint the system to know exactly where it is. It can update itself, remove itself without a trace, and this part is absolutely crucial: it can run other tools directly in the computer's memory, leaving almost no forensic evidence for investigators to find. Okay, so we've seen the crime scene and we've seen the weapon. Now let's put on our detective hats and follow the digital breadcrumbs. How in the world do these attackers get from one simple document to having complete control over a system? It's actually a really clever multi-stage process. It all starts when the victim downloads that very convincing RAR archive. They run what they think is a document, but in the background, a sneaky technique called DLL sideloading kicks off the real attack. So while the victim is just sitting there reading a totally harmless decoy PDF, the malware is already calling home, downloading the next piece of the puzzle, and finally executing the full AshTag suite right there in the computer's RAM. So what is that first trick, DLL sideloading? Well, think of it like this. A normal, legitimate program needs a specific file, a DLL file, to run properly. The attackers just create their own malicious file, give it the same name, and place it where the program will find it first. The program loads the bad file, thinking it's the real deal. It's a classic bait and switch. The attackers have another really clever hiding spot too. They actually embed their malicious code inside the HTML of what looks like a totally normal web page. It's the digital version of a spy using invisible ink on a newspaper. To the casual observer, or even to a lot of security tools, it just looks like a regular website. But to the malware that knows the secret, there's a hidden message waiting. Okay, so we've seen the what, and we've seen the how. Now it's time for the big question. Who is behind all of this? I mean, think about it. This operation has been running since at least 2018, and they're constantly fine-tuning their tools and expanding their list of targets. Well, researchers have finally given this group a name: Ashen Lepus. So Ashen Lepus, which you might also see called WIRT, is a threat group that's been linked to Hamas. They've been around for years, and their mission is crystal clear: cyber espionage. Their main goal is to get in, find very specific documents related to diplomacy, often by going straight for people's email accounts, and then get out without anyone ever knowing they were there. But here's the thing that makes this group so dangerous. They don't just stick to one playbook. Ashen Lepus is constantly learning, adapting, and evolving their tactics to stay one step ahead of the people trying to stop them. Just take a look at how their network setup has changed. They used to run their command and control servers on their own sketchy-looking domains, which were, a lot easier to spot and block. But now they're using subdomains that look completely harmless, like api.healthylifefeed.com. This makes their malicious traffic just blend right in with all the normal noise on the internet. This has basically become their new philosophy: just hide in plain sight. By using these innocent-looking subdomains, they make the job of a network defender incredibly, incredibly difficult. They've also given their secret codes a major upgrade. They moved to something called AES 256, which is a modern military-grade encryption standard. This pretty much puts their malware inside a digital Fort Knox, making it so much harder for researchers to crack it open and figure out exactly how it works. And finally, their big focus is on leaving zero fingerprints behind. By running their malware directly in a computer's volatile memory, that's the RAM, they don't have to write any files to the hard drive. And that means when the computer restarts, poof, the evidence is just gone. It's an incredibly effective way to dodge investigators. So we've gone way deep into the technical weeds here, but why does this one specific campaign actually matter in the grand scheme of things? Just think about that for a second. Since 2018, that shows a level of commitment and patience that tells you they are absolutely playing the long game when it comes to collecting intelligence. So let's pull all of this together. First, Ashen Lepus is remarkably persistent. I mean, the fact that their operations kept going without interruption through major regional conflicts and ceasefires, that tells you everything. The need for intelligence never stops for them, so they don't. They're also expanding their target list and are constantly getting stealthier and more adaptive. And get this for their latest trick. They're now using perfectly legitimate tools like rclone, which is a common utility for transferring files, to steal data. It's just another brilliant way to make their bad activity look totally normal. You know, all of this constant evolution and adaptation leaves us with a really critical and, honestly, an unsettling question. In this never-ending cat-and-mouse game of cyber espionage, as the attackers master the art of hiding in plain sight, how on earth do you defend against a threat you can't even see?